Oh, hello. Good morning, good evening. My name is Shantanu, and welcome to yet another webinar with Zencoder. I think it's only me today for now. Most of the folks are traveling. They're in Finland for Slush, another exciting event that is happening. So we'll be talking more about render.com/slash Zencoder today. So you know how troublesome it is to host your applications on any of the toolkits out there. So if you're using let's say AWS or any of those providers, you know how troublesome it is to log in, get things done, host your own EC2 instances and whatnot. So today what we'll essentially be doing is that we'll host a very simple application on render.com, and with that we'll also be hosting a database, and without touching much of a code, without even switching a lot of context, we'll be deploying all of those things right from Zencoder with a single configuration. So before we jump in and before we move on, I would love to know more about, if you have any questions, anything around this, would love to pick them up as well. Awesome. I think no questions for now from anybody. So I think I can get started. I'll quickly share my screen. I'll keep it handy so that everybody knows on what's happening. I'm just setting up a few screens here. Just give me a second. Share screen, entire screen, screen one. Okay, awesome. I guess you guys can see my screen, and I hope it's pretty much visible. Let me zoom in a bit. So installing render MCP is the first step that we'll take. So we'll be following a bunch of steps here to host our application directly on render. So first is you want to make sure that you have an account on render.com, and once you've created an account, make sure you have added the payment method as well. Payment method is pretty important because the instance that you'd be creating requires a payment method. So once you do that, the next step would be to head to your account settings. Inside account settings, um, you have an option for generating an API key and then create a new API key. We can name it render MCP test, and I'll create an API key here. You just need to copy it because once you close this window, it won't be fetching up again. So once you're done, just click on it. Now let's navigate to Zencoder. So installing MCP for render is pretty simple. All you have to do is just head to tools, head to customs. I already have it. So this is the config that I have, and I'll just replace the API key here. Once done, all you have to do is just click on install or save. I'll share the MCP configuration right in the chat as well. There you go. So the MCP configuration is right in front of your screen. Feel free to copy them. Feel free to play along with it. And this is the guide that you can follow along. Let me share that as well. Yeah. So I've shared a guide as well in the chat, so you guys can use or refer this guide whenever you're deploying an application through Render. So first step is we'll make sure, we are all set. Everything is all set with Render slash Zencoder. So you can easily talk to your uh, Render instance or Render account directly from your Zencoder chat. So, so to check if your Render MCP is working well or not, all you have to do is just type check the render.com connection. And what will happen is that the agent will essentially trigger the render MCP and search whether it's working or not. There you go. So the MCP has been invoked, and as you can see, it will list down all the workspaces that are active, all the services that are active, and what are the next steps that I can take. Okay, so as you can see, I have one services which is active, which is the task API, and that's already there. It's active, not suspended, and that's it. That's all I have right now. So now let's create a database. So what Render essentially provides the users with is PostgreSDB. You can easily create a PostgreSDB with a single prompt. You don't have to juggle around or create any configurations on render.com or any different sort of site. All you have to do is just prompt render that, use render.com and create a simple DB for me. So same thing again, it will invoke the MCP. It will ask a bunch of follow-up questions to me on what I need. So how would I like to name the database? Let's say test MCP, and let's just go ahead with the free plan. And done. The MCP has been created. So now we'll have all the informations about the PostgreSDB and I mean the user ID, the password, the connection string, and all of these things. So there are a few things that we still need to enable from the render dashboard. So what we'll do is we'll go to this link and we'll check it out. And there you go. So the status is creating. The database is still in progress. And once the database is created, you'll have a password generated. And there are one configuration that you would want to do, which is enabling the outbound links. So let's go ahead, add the source till it gets installed. So 0.0.0/0, which means it's a public URL. So anybody who has the external URL to this database can essentially access the DB. I mean, that's a security concern, but just for the testing purposes, we're keeping it open. So now we have this source added. Let's just wait for a few seconds to, this DB to be instated. So meanwhile, this gets started. Let's just go ahead and deploy our web service. So Render provides a bunch of stuff for the users. One is web service, databases, static websites, CDNs, and a lot more. So using the MCPs, you can do a lot of cool stuff. So one being, you can always create instances, create services directly from the chat. You can also you can also change the envs, change the environmental variables, the settings and stuff directly from your chat as well. You can suspend, delete, or even disable instances directly from your Zencoder chat. So you don't have to navigate that or push around or change context. So everything, once you have integrated the MCP in Zencoder, everything becomes seamless. So now since we have, okay, so status is available, all set. I think there you go. So now we have our database all deployed with a single prompt. I mean, we didn't do any specific configuration from the chat or anywhere else. All we did was a simple prompting, and we are good to go. So now, what we'll do is we have two options. One is we can directly invoke the agent to update the env, which I don't feel is a safer option. And the other option again is to change it manually. So what I'll do is I'll change these settings, passwords, and stuff. Don't worry, I would change or delete these passwords after the session, but feel free to look them up and see how we do it. So we'll just change these settings to make sure our connection to our DB and all of these things are pretty much sorted out. Okay, so we are all set. All of our configurations are pretty much done, and we are all there. So to test whether the database is working or not, the first step that I would do is run it locally with npm start, and see if the database is working or not. There you go. The database has been successfully connected. So the server is running, the database is working perfectly fine, and we deployed the database with a single prompt. Now let's go ahead and deploy the web service. So all you have to do is just say deploy a new web service with the configuration in env. It should take a while. Oh, I think I should have mentioned where to do it. So my bad. Let me just mention it again. So it started reading on the envs with all the data that we have. It should take a few minutes to get it deployed. It has invoked the um, render MCP, and it's trying to create the web instance. Let's see if it works. I think it's done. So meanwhile, before I switch to the dashboard, there you go. I have all the services right here. As you can see, the URL is here. I have different sort of build statements which was included already. So let's navigate here and see what's the status for this particular service that we deployed from Zencoder. Should take a while. Oh, I think it's still in the process. So I can just go here. It's still in the process. It's still being deployed. So once it is deployed, you can navigate to this URL and you can see how this looks like. So we'll wait for a while. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, anything that I can help you with, anything that I can answer, just drop them in the chat and I'll pick it up from there. And not just this, there are multiple services that you can create right from render. So even if it's downscaling, upscaling your database, or even maybe creating a K8 instances, you can easily do it right from your chat. So this part of the deployment integration makes the whole AI-driven development suite pretty seamless. So I don't have to switch context. I don't have to switch tools. All I have to do is just integrate both of them so they can talk to each other. So imagine down the line if your application breaks and how troublesome it is to pull up logs from different sort of services. If you have these integration, which is render MCP and Zencoder, you can easily pull your logs directly into Zencoder, and it can navigate your way around, debug it for you, and you should be all set and ready to go. So seamless integration makes it easy as well. So we'll see in a bit on how to pull up logs as well. But before that, let's check this API. And there you go. The API has been successfully created. We deployed it. We also created a database and integrated that, connected the database to our web service. All of these things pretty much happened in the last 12 minutes. So imagine how easy it is to build and deploy using Zencoder. So now let's do one quick interesting tool here. Now let's pull up all the logs in Zencoder. So you can just say, pull up the latest logs from the task management API prod web service. Okay, so it's trying to fetch the logs directly from the instance, and let's see how it goes. There you go. We have a few logs, and let's see what the agent says. So build successful. We have all the dependencies installed, typical logs, and the server has started. There's a migration warning, which was also coming up here locally for me as well. So that's something that will fix later on. But yeah, everything is live. All the logs were able to fetch. If there was an error, would have been pretty swift, pretty easy to fetch those as well directly in Zencoder. So everything happens in the last 15 minutes. I think that's how easy it is. That's how super fast it is. If you have any questions, anything that you want to be answered, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll pick it up, and we can take it from there. If no questions, I think we can keep it short for this webinar, and we can close out for the day. Awesome. I think no questions. So once again, thank you so much for joining in. I think this is one of the shortest webinars we did in the last 3 months, 4 months. But yeah, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining in. And for the next one, for the next week's webinar, we have Figma, and we'll be joining in by Pablo. So Pablo is one of our members in the GTM team. He'll be joining in, and we'll be talking more about how to integrate Figma and Zencoder. So how you can easily pull up your designs and build out your designs directly from Zencoder. Again, same logic, right? Where you don't have to switch context and do everything right at a single place. And this makes your whole development life cycle pretty smooth, pretty easy. So having said that, thank you so much for everybody who joined in, who tuned in, and uh, watched this 15 minutes quick presentation about how to integrate Zencoder and render.com. If you have any questions, and if you have deployed using the same workflow that I did, feel free to drop them on our Discord or Slack, or even tag us on our socials. We'll be happy to have a look at it. And that's it from my side. Once again, thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers for now.